The wind carried a whisper through the empty fields that morning, a sound that was neither quite wind nor quite silence. Emily was driving home after a long night shift at the clinic when she saw something strange near the old wooden fence. At first, she thought it was just a fallen branch. But then it moved. Her heart skipped. She pulled over, gravel crunching under her tires, and stepped into the cold air. The grass was heavy with dew, her shoes sinking into the damp earth as she walked closer. What she saw next would stay with her forever. A horse, thin, trembling, and barely breathing. His coat, once white, was now covered in mud and blood. The animal's eyes flickered with the last traces of life, and a weak sound escaped his throat. Emily froze, breath catching in her chest. "Oh, my God!" Hey, it's okay," she whispered, crouching down beside him. The horse flinched, but didn't try to move. His ribs showed through his skin, his mane tangled with barbed wire. Whoever had left him here hadn't meant for him to live. For a moment, Emily just knelt there. She felt a steady ache of helplessness rise in her throat, that terrible feeling of being too late. But then she noticed it, a faint rise and fall in his chest. He was still fighting. "You're not alone anymore, buddy," she said softly. She ran back to her car, grabbed her emergency kit, and returned to his side. The morning sun began to lift over the hills, painting the world gold. Emily spoke to him the whole time as she worked, her voice low and calm, like she was talking to a scared child. "I know it hurts. Just hold on, all right? You're safe now." She cleaned his wounds, cut away the wire, and poured a few drops of water between his lips. The horse blinked slowly, as if trying to believe what was happening. Emily could feel her throat tighten. "You want to live, don't you?" she whispered. It took nearly an hour before she dared to move him. She wrapped her jacket around his neck like a makeshift comforter, then called the Animal Rescue Center. But no one answered. It was too early. She stared down at him, at those flickering eyes that refused to close. Her voice broke. "I'm not leaving you here." She drove home at barely 10 miles an hour, hazards flashing, whispering encouragement to the open window the entire way. Every few minutes, she checked the rear-view mirror, making sure he was still breathing in the trailer she had borrowed from her neighbor weeks ago. She had never imagined she'd use it for something like this. By the time she reached her small farm, the horse was slipping into unconsciousness. Emily called her assistant, Daniel. He arrived, wide-eyed, as she guided the trembling animal down the ramp. "Where did you find him?" Daniel asked. "By the old fence near Willow Creek. Someone left him to die." Daniel swallowed hard. "We can save him. We have to try." They laid him on a bed of hay in the barn. The smell of dust and straw thick in the air. Emily knelt beside him again, placing her hand on his neck. His breathing was shallow but steady. "Let's get some fluids into him," she said quietly. "And a name. He deserves a name." Daniel looked at her, then at the horse. "What about Hope?" Emily smiled faintly. "Hope," she repeated. "That fits." They worked through the day and into the night. Hope's wounds were deeper than they thought, but he kept fighting. Every so often, his ears twitched at Emily's voice, a small sign that he was still listening. At midnight, when Daniel finally left, Emily stayed behind. She sat beside Hope, her hand resting on his mane. The barn was quiet except for his slow breathing and the hum of crickets outside. "You're safe now," she whispered again. "I promise I won't give up on you." But as the hours passed, Emily began to notice something she couldn't ignore. Hope's breathing grew uneven. His legs twitched as though he were dreaming or remembering. Then suddenly his eyes opened wide, filled with panic. Emily jumped to her feet. Hey, it's okay. You're okay." Hope struggled to stand, his hose scraping the barn floor. Emily grabbed his halter, steadying him as best she could. His eyes darted around wildly, like he was seeing ghosts. "You're not there anymore," she said firmly. "You're home now." After a long moment, he stopped shaking. His body went still, his head drooping until it rested against her shoulder. Emily felt the warmth of his breath against her neck. Weak but real. She wrapped her arms around him, tears falling silently down her face. And that's when she noticed it, a faint brand on his skin, half hidden under the dirt. She brushed it clean with trembling fingers. The letters were burned deep, cruelly carved. It was a mark she recognized. Her breath caught. That brand belonged to a stable she had worked at years ago, a place with secrets she thought were buried for good. The past she had tried to escape had just come back, lie in her arms. End of section 1. Emily couldn't look away from a brand. The letters seared into Hope's skin were unmistakable. RSH, Riverstone Stables Haven. A name that once meant promise, but had turned into a nightmare. She had left that place years ago, vowing never to speak of what she saw there. Now, the past had found her again. She sat beside Hope until morning, her mind heavy with old memories. She remembered the way the owner, Mr. Clayton, pushed the horses beyond their limits, racing them injured, starving them to save money, discarding them when they broke. She had reported him once, but the case went nowhere. He was powerful, connected, and she was just a young vet with no proof. But this brand was proof. Hope was proof. The morning light cut through the barn window, landing on Hope's side. His breathing was steadier now, though weak. Emily stroked his neck, whispering, "You're safe, I promise. They can't hurt you again." Still, a part of her trembled. If Clayton found out she had one of his horses, one he had clearly meant to disappear, there would be consequences. 2 days later, Daniel returned with fresh hay and antibiotics. Hope was eating again, his eyes brighter. But Emily was distracted. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been near the property the night before. The gate had been left open, and fresh tire tracks marked the mud. "Daniel," she said quietly, "lock the barn every night from now on." He frowned. "You think someone's looking for him?" Emily nodded. "I don't think. I know." That evening, rain began to fall again, soft at first, then heavy. Emily sat in the barn, listening to the rhythm of water hitting the roof. Hope lifted his head, ears twitching at the sound. He looked at her, and for a moment, she could almost see gratitude in his eyes. "You're stronger than you look," she murmured. "Maybe we both are." A sudden flash of headlights outside broke the calm. Emily froze. The sound of an engine idling reached her ears. She stood slowly, peering through the slats of the barn wall. A black truck, parked at the gate. Her pulse quickened. She grabbed her phone and called Daniel, whispering, "Someone's here." Before he could respond, the barn door creaked open. A man stepped inside, rain dripping from his coat. Even in the dim light, she recognized him instantly. "Clayton," she breathed. He smiled. That same cold, thin smile she remembered. "Emily." "Long time." Her stomach turned. "What do you want?" He looked past her, toward Hope. "I think you have something that belongs to me." Emily moved between them, her voice shaking but firm. "He's not yours anymore." Clayton's eyes hardened. "That horse was damaged goods. You should have left him where you found him. You're interfering in things you don't understand." "I understand enough," she shot back. "I know what you did to those animals. I saw it." He took a slow step forward, lowering his voice. "Careful, Emily. You wouldn't want the wrong people hearing about your trespassing." Emily's hand trembled as she reached behind her for the phone still in her pocket. "You don't scare me anymore." Clayton's smile vanished. "You should be scared." He lunged forward, grabbing her wrist. Hope let out a loud, pained whinny, a sound that seemed to shake the rafters. In that instant, the horse staggered to his feet, muscles trembling, and stepped between them. Clayton stumbled back, startled. Hope stood tall, battered but defiant, his eyes locked on the man who had hurt him. "Go," Emily whispered to Clayton. "If you ever come back here, I swear." Clayton sneered but backed away. "You will regret this," he said, before disappearing into the storm. The moment he was gone, Emily's knees gave out. She sank to the ground, her breath coming in sharp gasps. Hope stood over her, sides heaving, rain from the open door streaking his face. She reached up and touched his muzzle. "You saved me," she whispered. For the first time, Hope nickered softly, a small, broken sound that filled the silence. Days passed. The authorities came, and Emily gave her statement. This time, she had proof, photos of the brand, vet reports, witness accounts. The investigation into Riverstone reopened, and within weeks, the truth began to unravel. Clayton was arrested for animal cruelty and illegal disposal. Emily didn't celebrate. She just stood in the barn, watching Hope graze peacefully under the sun. His scars were fading, his strength returning. When she brushed him now, he no longer flinched. One afternoon, Daniel approached her. "He's healing faster than any of us thought possible," he said. Emily smiled. "He's not just healing. He's choosing to live." A month later, she opened the barn door to find Hope standing near the fence, gazing out at the horizon, at the same road where she found him. She walked up beside him, resting a hand on his shoulder. "You want to run again, don't you?" she whispered. Hope turned his head, eyes bright with something fierce and free. Emily unclipped the rope, heart pounding. "Go on," she said softly. For a moment, he stood still, then bolted forward, mane flying, hooves pounding the earth. The sound was thunder and heartbeat and joy all at once. He ran across the open field, into the light. Emily watched until he was a blur against the horizon. Tears stung her eyes, but they weren't sad. They were full of something new. Hope was free. And somehow, so was she.